Hello and welcome to 5 Year Club video number 305. Tonight we're going to talk about the debt lasso method to pay off debt faster. We've already talked about other methods such as Avalanche and Snowball. That's targeting the highest interest rate with Avalanche and targeting the smallest balance first with Snowball, and then working your way, in the case of Avalanche, down to lower interest rates over time. But paying off the highest interest rates first. And with the Snowball, you are starting paying minimums on everything, paying off the lowest balance first, and then tackling the next highest balance so you can get quick wins and motivate yourself to continue. I think paying off debt is super important. I think that it is psychologically very important. It's important early in your life or any time in your life to learn what is necessary to cut your expenses and pay down your debt very quickly. It's kind of like getting in really good physical shape at some point in your life. You may not stay there forever, but once you've done it once, it's much easier to get back there later. And so I thought this article was very interesting because I had not heard of the debt lasso method, and any way to pay off debt is better than not paying it off. So let's get started. You've heard of the Avalanche. Oh, by the way, this is from Forbes. John Schneider and David Otten, hopefully. Cashing in on fabulous with queer money. All right. You've heard of the Avalanche and Snowball methods for paying off debt. Both are great processes that have helped millions of people become debt-free. Yet there is something better for credit card debt. Like many in the queer community, our personal finance problem was debt. For us specifically, it was credit card debt. By the time we committed to becoming debt-free, we had 15 years of combined experience in financial services and knew a little about how money worked despite what our bank accounts showed. We also tried on several occasions, both together and individually, to pay off our debt and learned from those experiences. We knew we could come up with a better strategy for ourselves to become debt-free than either traditional method, and we did. We came up with a new method. We call it the debt lasso method, as we share on this Queer Money trademark episode. Because the main idea is to pull or lasso your credit card interest rates as close to you or 0% as possible, it allows you to use the money you save in interest payments to expedite becoming debt-free. It worked for us and has worked for others. One Debt Free Guys follower on Twitter shared that she would save about $2,250 over 15 months, as well as pay her debt off faster. What are the Snowball and Avalanche methods? The Snowball method, popularized by Dave Ramsey, says to pay off your debt with the smallest balance first while making minimum payments on your other debts. Next, pay off your second smallest balance, combining the additional money you were paying your smallest balance card off with and the minimum you would normally send anyway. Continue this until you're debt-free. This is psychologically gratifying, even though it will likely take longer to be debt-free and cost you more in interest payments. These quick wins are motivating. This made sense to us, but we weren't that patient. The Avalanche method is, and I gotta say that this is a little bit misleading because most people who attempt to pay off debt stop, they flake out. And so in the long run, when you flake out, you end up paying more in interest payments, not less. The greatest percentage of people paid off all of their debt using the Snowball method. So I think arguably the Snowball method has you paying less interest because it only has you paying more interest if you assume you're going to succeed, and it's a very bad assumption, both because of your personal track record if you have debt right now, and because of the track records of millions of other people who have debt and try to pay it off. We're not good at it. And so, that's why I like the Snowball method, because it works more of the time than the other methods. And I think that we have to admit that we're not very good at paying off debt. And then we have to pick the thing that's most likely going to make us successful, even if it makes us a little bit sad that we don't have as much discipline as we'd like. Anyway, the Avalanche method is closer to the debt lasso method in that it encourages paying off your highest interest rate debt first while making minimum payments on other debts. Then pay your next highest interest rate debt off with the combination of the additional money with which you were paying your higher interest rate card off and the minimum monthly payment you'd normally send. Continue this process until you're debt-free. Prioritizing your costliest debt first is the fastest way to pay off your debt, in theory, because you're decreasing the net cost of your debt by paying off the highest debt first. This too made sense to us, but we wondered how much faster we could become debt-free if we could pay little to no fees maintaining our credit card debt. Enter the lasso method. What is the debt lasso method? The debt lasso method reins in the interest rates on your credit cards as low as possible, even 0%, and pays off whatever debt you carry as fast as possible using the combination of money you save in interest payments and the minimum monthly balance you'd send anyway. This is how we paid off $51,000 in under 3 years. Lewis says that is slow for 2 people. I have paid off more than $51,000 in a single year alone, so I'm not impressed by your debt lasso. All right, especially if you're working in financial services, that should be a good paying industry. We first contacted all our credit card companies and asked them to lower our interest rates. This works in an environment where credit is readily available, and so banks are competing for customers. But in an environment like 2009, where lenders are hesitant to lend in the first place, I'm not sure you're going to be able to negotiate those rates lower. So I just wanted to point out that, like, this particular part of it, very situational, depending on what's going on with the credit and the economy at that moment in time. Surprisingly, most companies obliged, even if it took some explaining. It helped that despite having all that debt, we rarely missed or were late on payments. The only thing holding us down, the only thing holding down our credit scores were our debt to income ratios. This savings helped us to start saving money immediately, as all savings immediately went towards our credit card debt. Next, we looked for 0% interest rate credit card promotions with no annual fees. When we found a credit card and a promotion that suited us, we calculated the cost of a balance transfer to that card. This required reading a lot of fine print to be clear what we might get with an offer. The same will be required of you. At the time, 3% balance transfer fees were standard. There were a few that charged less than 3% and even some that charged 0%. Of course, the 0% interest rate credit card promotions with no annual fees and 0% balance transfers were gold. Some even exist today. Most of the 0% interest rate credit card promotions lasted between 6 to 18 months. The longer the promotion, the more time we had to pay off our debt. We used this time to diligently pay off as much credit card debt as we could, as fast as we could. When one card was paid off, we put even more money towards our remaining credit card debt. We continued this until we were debt-free. To see if the debt lasso is right for you, download our money-saving credit card comparison payoff calculator. All right, what are the 6 steps of the debt lasso method? Number 1, contact all your credit card companies and ask them to lower your interest rates. Number 2, find low to 0% interest rate credit card promotions with no annual fees. 3, read the fine print. 4, crunch the numbers using the credit card comparison calculator. 5, do a balance transfer when it's financially advantageous to your unique situation. Number 6, put your normal credit card payment, any additional money, and the money you used to pay your credit card interest rate all towards your debt. What are the risks of the debt lasso method? With all our years in financial services, we know everything requires a disclosure. Here is the debt lasso disclosure. Be careful about what happens if you miss or are late on payments toward your low to 0% interest rate credit card promotions, what could cause you to no longer qualify for the promotion, and what the credit card interest rate will be once the promotion ends. Know that opening and closing credit cards regularly will cause your credit score to drop. To minimize this, we kept our credit cards with the longest histories open with $0 balances, even while we opened and closed our low to 0% interest rate credit cards. This helped our credit scores to not drop as much as they otherwise would have. Also, confirm that all transfers are right for you with our credit card comparison payoff calculator. Finally, understand that no method, Snowball, Avalanche, or Debt Lasso will help you become and stay debt-free unless you've made the mental shift and commitment to be debt-free. This is mentioned like right at the end of the article, and this is where most people fail in Dave Ramsey's program. Most people drop out of the class very early. Most people do not really convince themselves that they need to make a big change in their financial life. Anyway, so that's the end of the article. Obviously, these disclosures at the end are very important. Many cards are going to try to screw you after 12 months or 18 months. They're going to charge you a much higher interest rate. They may even charge you, I mean, I know in some cases, like if you buy furniture at like 0%, 6 months, they will charge you the entire 6 months of interest if it's not paid off within 6 months. So you'll get hit with hundreds of dollars in interest at the 6-month mark. There is obviously a lot of fine print here. Lawyers are going to try to get your money. The other thing I'd like to point out is that a lot of this is like, technical manipulation of cards and stuff, and people really want to believe that technical manipulation of debt is going to pay it off. The truth is that most debt is paid off through painful sacrifice, not through manipulating credit card fine print stuff. And if you spend more time messing around with credit card interest rates and you don't spend as much time figuring out how to cut your lifestyle and pay off more debt, you're going to pay off your debt slower and you're going to pay more interest. So all this credit card stuff doesn't matter because you're focused on the wrong thing. The right thing to be focused on is straight up how much money can you put towards paying off debt principal. The more you pay off, the faster you pay it off, the less interest you pay. That's the most important thing. I don't think it's emphasized enough in this article, but it is the truth about debt payoff. But I did find it very interesting, and in particular, I think contact all your credit card companies and ask them to lower your interest rates. I think right now in 2018, that is definitely the right thing to do. And I think that it's not perhaps an obvious thing to do, but you got nothing to lose. It's free money. It's sitting there on the table. I'd go ahead and do it, especially if there's not going to be any, balance transfer or fine print to read about, as long as you're not switching to a different card. If they're just going to lower it on the phone to keep you from entertaining a balance transfer, that's a really fast way to save money, and there's no reason why you shouldn't do it. It's also just a good exercise in reaching out and trying to get something. All right, well, that is it for 5-Year Club video number 305. Hope you enjoyed it. And don't know if the Debt Lasso method is going to become popular, but it has a catchy name. Have a fabulous evening.